It's the only person below White Holiday in the ComicsGate phone book. It's my favorite failed clone of Peter Sameti. The YouTube how you doing, Conrad? Welcome to the show.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to WyzGyz Entertainment. This is your host, Wyman. We are joined today by a very special guest, Mr. John Celestri. How's it going?
Hi, Wyman. How you doing?
Good, thank you. I appreciate you coming on the channel. It's a pleasure to have you.
Well, thanks for asking me.
First off, how's your day?
It's good. It's good. I'm finishing. Finishing off roughing a section of the next book, so that's good.
Oh, nice, nice. Is it? We'll get deeper into the book in a few, but out of curiosity, is it kind of one of those things where you set aside a certain amount of hours to work on it every day?
Well, yeah, it's pretty much all day for me. Well, when I get started, because I'm pretty much retired. So this is my full-time project. That's what gets me up in the morning,
Wow.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
Yeah. You could retire okay in Kentucky. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I think I passed by there a few times, and I used to do Uber Eats and stuff. But I've never I haven't physically lived there for any extended period of time. Mm-hmm. But you like it out in Kentucky?
Oh yeah, yep, very much so. It's I like Lexington is a small city. I mean, I grew up in Brooklyn, so you could fit Lexington in one part of Brooklyn, and so there's a whole different ambiance, but it's a very Lexington is not a it's an educated city. It's got a lot of it's got some restaurants. It's got a mixture of types of people in it. It's got Kentucky University, the UK. It's got the horses. You're right by the part of the Bourbon Trail. And it's a very cool place.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So you got a little bit of everything over there.
Yeah, that's right.
Sweet.
Yeah.
And is that what basically drew you to that area?
Well, as
the center of everything.
Well, basically, it was a place, an opportunity to do things with an animation studio, to start up something, and that fell apart. But by that time, I was, it was ready for me to retire. So,
so you enjoying the retired life?
No, I mean, well, retire. If you're an artist, you don't retire. You just have more time to do what you want to do.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
Some people say that when they retire, they get bored because they're like sitting around twiddling their thumbs. I mean, initially, it feels like they're like the dream life. You don't have to go to a 9-to-5 or anything like that. But I imagine it's got to be totally different for someone who's in the creative field.
Well, yeah, I've actually been outside for the most part a studio environment since about 1987. I've worked at home. I mean, I worked for studios, from home, but through FedEx, even doing scanning and faxing drawings to Canada for the Batman commercials.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, back in '87, that's a story in itself on how we did those Batman commercials. But the thing about it is that I've always maintained a structured existence, so to speak. I mean, I know that I have to do the job. So, you know, I say, okay, I have so much time to do it. This is as good as I could make it. And so I just, you know, you just apply yourself. But, you know, as you go to the point where you can, you know, call your own shots, because I was always doing an 8 to 5, you know, job, or 9 to 6 or whatever it was, and sometimes if I did a job, if I was doing the work, you know, fast, I'd give myself an hour, you know, at the end of the day and say, okay, I'm just going to go and exercise, you know, and so, you know, you kind of learn to structure yourself as you're self-employed and you're your own supervisor, but you know that you've got to get a certain amount of work done every day.
That's the important part.
Yeah.
I mean, people talk about working from home and being self-employed, and the big challenge is the motivation and the drive. If you don't have any of that, then you're going to be spending all your time goofing off and watching movies and stuff. Well,
the thing about it is that, you know, it depends on what it is that is driving you. If you don't have if you don't have a fire in your belly, no matter how small that fire is, if you don't have it, you're never going to get anything done.
Mm-hmm.
And so so you really have to want to do something, and you have to. Sometimes you have to push yourself, but the thing about it is that you pace yourself, because you know how much time you have. Then you say, okay, I can only do so much in a day, you know, within a certain amount of time. And most people can only actually work, if you're going to intensive creative work, maybe about 6 hours. Because, I mean, I'm talking about the total time of 6 hours, you know, not talking about just getting it, but I'm just talking physically on there, and maintain that pace for long periods of time. I'm talking about, months at a time to work on a project. But if you do that, you know, the other 2 hours are spent getting up, stretching, going to the washroom, going, you know, talking to somebody, thinking, stopping, and resting. But you can't, you know, intensively, you know, there's only so much time. And I learned that, you know, just, you know, over the years. So that's that's my approach to things. So I maintain that now. So
yeah, just a moment. Let me take a sec here. Make sure that's muted. Sometimes, I don't know if I never mentioned it, but whenever I do my streams, I broadcast to, because I have StreamYards, I'm able to broadcast to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch all at once.
Yep. Okay.
And occasionally, I get, oh shoot, no, I don't want that. Occasionally, I get spam bots.
Oh.
That put garbage in the chat.
Yeah.
And so basically, I have to take a moment to ban them permanently.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yep. Let's see. I think I got it. All right. Cool deal. Welcome to The Hidden. Great point. And welcome to Frog G. Frog G is amazing. I don't know if you've been in on shows where Frog G's been moderating, but Frog G's so amazing. Drops links to campaigns and stuff, and you know, endless promoter. really good person. Smash the like, ding the bell, back Bloodwing Angel Chronicles. Absolutely.
Thank you, Frog.
The Hidden is asking, what spam bots? Well, you aren't seeing it because you're viewing from YouTube, but from my view in StreamYard, I'm seeing a spam message from Twitch trying to claim that they can give me many backers. Sure, right. Yeah, just pay us and we'll get you more followers. Right. Yeah, there's a link to the Indiegogo campaign, Bloodwing Angel Chronicles. Speaking of which, Bloodwing Angel Chronicles is funding. If you haven't yet, consider backing today. If you've already backed, be sure and back again. Definitely a cool looking project. Back it once, back it twice, back it 3 times a lady. If by chance you've already, or actually if you haven't the opportunity, or maybe you're waiting for another paycheck, consider sharing it all over social media so we can get more eyeballs on it. Thank you, thank you. Y'all rock. And yeah. So as is customary on my channel, I like to do kind of a deeper dive on the creator's background. So I'd be honored if you'd share with us what your early formative years were like. What did you grow up with? What kind of movies, music, toys, cartoons were you interested in? And what were the major milestones in your life that led you to becoming this amazing artist and animator you are?
Okay. Well, we got our first TV in 1950. And so I was born in 49, and so I'm actually one of the first, the generation that got TV for the first time. So
it's black and white, right?
Oh, yes, and it was a big, it was an Admiral, or a Sylvania. I can't remember which one.
Oh my gosh.
It was one. It was a. You would have. It was the biggest thing that my dad could get. It was one of those consoles that had a TV set on one side. The screen. It was divided into 4, so it was an entertainment center. So it had it had a TV set on one quadrangle. On below that was where all the lower tiers were the records, the record cabinet, and the speaker. Okay, so those were the lower 2 quadrants. On the upper left-hand corner was the screen, the TV set. It was all. It was maybe about the size. I think there was about maybe a 15-inch, 17-inch, which was pretty big for that time period. But that was what you had. Around it was all the cabinetry and the dials and whatnot. And you had your from channel 2 to channel 13.
Yes.
Okay, those are the clickers. You had the on and off volume. You had the horizontal and you had the vertical.
Oh yeah, true.
So you're talking about and then the aerial that went up to the roof. Okay, and they were all vacuum tubes. My dad had the instructions on how to fix the TV set because the TV, the vacuum tubes would blow every 2 or 3 years, depending upon how hot it got. And so he learned he was doing that a lot of times, fixing things.
If you were, sorry to interrupt, but if you would watch it like nonstop, like let's say you have the TV on all the time, would they be more likely to blow sooner?
Oh yeah, well it's like any bulb.
All right.
It's like any bulb. But the thing about it is that back then you didn't have TV 24 hours a day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's. Yes. TV set. A TV started. I remember. You would have maybe the morning show, like they might have something for the kids, and this is like 1950. Let's say school is that 1954. I'm going to kindergarten. I'm 5 years old at that time. So you watch TV, but we would watch it whenever it was on because it was so interesting. So you'd have the cartoons, Warner Brothers cartoons, that they were uncut. I'd watch them. The Popeye cartoons would uncut. Watch them. They're all black and whites. The silent cartoons, they would run that also, and the Terry tunes were sound. So anyway, you'd see maybe about 2 hours in the morning. Then there'd be nothing. There would just be the
bar.
It was called the. Usually it was there would be an Indian head with feathers, or a buffalo, depending, because so you could it was a test pattern. It was so that you could test and see how good your screen was. Okay.
Gotcha.
Anyway, so that would go on, and then maybe and then this is me in New York, at least. TV started then about 4 o'clock, and that's the first thing that would be on was, "Hey kids, what time is it? It's howdy doody time." And that's how they would start.
Oh wow!
And that would go on maybe to 11 o'clock, 11:30, and then that was it. And then the national anthem would go on, and that would be it until 7 o'clock the following morning.
Man, yeah. Speaking of which, the Hidden says, "I just picked up some G.I. Joe action figures. Nice." Pale Rider says that at a certain point at night they went off the air with the national anthem.
Right.
I totally forgot about that. That's true. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Did the earliest of the TVs have the bunny ears, or was that?
Those were rabbit ears. Those were, but most people, those were, if you couldn't get an antenna, so all of the antennas would go up onto the up on the apartment buildings.
Yeah.
So you'd see them, they'd go up on the roof, and
Right.
everybody had antennas, so wires would be going out. Now, which is different from what they had before, because I'm in that generation where it's still, radio was the big entertainment, and TV was just starting to take over.
Right.
So you had a thing where a show could be on both radio and TV, like the Lone Ranger would be on the radio but also on TV. And so there was a crossover at times. And so some people didn't have, many people in my neighborhood didn't have telephones. You'd have to go to the payphone down in the candy store.
Wow.
Yeah. So so basically, I'm still I'm growing up in the aftermath of the of World War II, and the Korean War hadn't quite started yet. So I'm growing, so there's a bit of the war, 1940s. So there's still that sensitivity of what it was like. And so when I see pictures, I look at pictures of myself and my dad, or my parents and whatnot. You could see, my dad was wearing a zoot suit, basically. The wide brim cap, big shoulders and whatnot, and I've got a little cap and what have you, and wearing it was called a car coat back then. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So I'm growing up in that time period where a lot of things were in. I didn't see my first color TV until the mid '60s. Maybe 1966.
Man.
We didn't have one. We had the same TV set for about 17 years.
It lasted that long, dang.
Oh yeah. And what I didn't tell you was that you had the TV set, but also be alongside of it, then on the fourth quadrant was AM, FM, CB, a shortwave radio.
Ooh.
And then it would had it was a 78, 33, and 45 RPM player, and you could drop the records in there that way.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah. So I'm listening to. My dad was always, he was a big radio, music lover in terms of all of the big bands, but he also was listening to, like the Mills Brothers, R&B. He was listening to country, what's his name, Hank Williams, Teresa Brewer, Peggy Lee, everything. So I had a mix of everything, listening throughout the day. So anyway, that was what I grew up listening to and being formulated by.
Nice. Let's take a moment and look at chat. Ryan, welcome.
Ryan, no, we are not yet. And you can't do it with visuals, I mean, it's not the same thing. It's not like, listening to the Adventures of Superman, up and away. I mean, we could do it. You could, those things could work. Michael the Bloodwing Angel, you could, but I don't know. It would have to be a play act, a radio drama.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Hail gang. Pale Rider says, I'm old enough to remember the payphone changing from a dime to a quarter.
Yeah.
Hail everyone. Want more from the Gods and Gears universe? Check out Hammerella Thundersmoke today. Nice. Pale Rider. Well, thank you, Froggy.
Yeah.
Sweet. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's cool that the AM/FM radios also supported shortwave and CB radios.
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, you could hear Germany, from Brooklyn, that way. It was a big to do, but then again, you didn't have so much interference. There wasn't a lot going through the airwaves, and also we didn't have all of the skyscrapers.
Huh. Yeah, but it's still pretty amazing that the radio waves could travel from Germany to the States.
Yeah, well, that if you had a short wave, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, shortwave radio. That's what it is. I mean, but you put it up into the antenna. So because we had the antenna up on the roof, it's all wired going up the same way.
Oh, okay. All right. There you go. And then the radio signals are more or less bouncing off the ionosphere, right?
Oh yeah. Well, and also it's just, I mean, sometimes you'd catch them and sometimes you wouldn't. You wouldn't catch the wave because, maybe sometimes, it would come in and go out and then come in and go out. But you could see, but you did catch them, at times.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So then you started going to, you're starting to go to school and everything.
Yeah, I'm starting to go to school, and I've got Warner Brothers is what I would watch, in the morning. Warner Brothers cartoons. That's what I would see. The Disneyland, the Wonderful World of Disney, or it was really called Disney at the time, 1954. When I'm in in kindergarten, that's when Disney had the first show.
Wow.
And so I was watching that, and so I was being influenced by those. By the Disney cartoons. I was being influenced by comic books and movies.
So were you actually introduced to comics at that age? Around that same time?
Yeah, because you'd see. I mean, you'd see the comics in the newspapers.
Oh, all right.
Okay, I mean, my dad got the Daily News and the Mirror, and those were two, newspapers. That's what he got. especially on Sundays, that's why I get both. So you'd have, two, 18-page spreads each with different strips. So there are about like 32 strips, that you could follow on a weekly basis, if you're just on the newspaper. So I got I got into, I was influenced by that. You see Little Abner, Dick Tracy, Dondi, what is it? We didn't get the King feature newspapers, the Hearst papers. Those were broadsheets. So that's a different. That we just didn't get them. One of my friends did. So sometimes we would go when I'd go there and see them later on. When I was like 12, 13 years old, I'd see these broadsheets and go, wow, but my dad didn't get that newspaper. So, that wasn't it for me. But seeing things like Prince Valiant and Flash Gordon, and Tarzan, and what is it? Blondie, all of those papers, but that was in the King feature syndicate. I was in the Tribune syndicate, newspapers. So anyway, so I grew up with that. Grew up with then starting. When you go to the candy store, the comic books were all there. So I grew up with the candy store in the corner, and it was just news racks. I mean, not just a turnstile, but rather magazine racks, and like 3 or 4 levels of it with comic books, with whether they were with the Superman. But basically, you had Superman, Batman. You had westerns, war comics. You had the Archies. You had all of the various Charlton comics. So there were monster comics, things of that sort. So that was the time reference, and so going into the candy store, you'd always see that. So that you get involved with that. So maybe I was about 6 or 7 when I actually was able to point out and say, I want that. And it was a Superman comic book, or it might have been Casper or Hot Stuff,
Right. Wendy the Witch. You mentioned Archie.
Yep, all of that. Yeah. So, there was those were my earliest influences, and so I always enjoyed drawing. My dad was a draftsman as a mechanical engineer. He worked in plants where before Xerox and before photo work, plans were hand traced on blueprints. So he was one of those letterers and tracers and things of that sort. So he had a steady hand. Also, his father was a barber, and we're talking about a barber with the straight edge. So he, so my hands come directly from them, with hand and eye coordination and control of a pencil point, so that you can draw and see, and have control exactly where you want it to go. So, so anyway, I'm giving you, if we're going to go deep dive, you don't know how deep you can go with me.
Let's take a moment here. Let's see. Wild to think about how little interference there would have been back then.
Yep. Yep. It is. In fact, we played in the streets because not everybody had a car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that was. I mean, as I said, I grew up in Bensonhurst in Brooklyn, in the Bay Ridge area, and if you want to, in my life and during my childhood, I mean, basically, it's the same kind of thing that let's say that Jack Kirby would have gone through. I mean, he lived in Hell's Kitchen, but basically it's the same kind of architecture, same time of kids everywhere, and everybody. The thing is that you left your apartment, which it was only like 3 or 4 rooms. I mean, that included a kitchen, the living room, and 2 bedrooms, and 1 bathroom, and two closets, and that was it. And so, when those apartments were maybe, I don't know, 700 square feet. That's not a lot. I mean, 600 to 700 square feet for 4 people. That's not a lot of room. when you're getting around. So the thing is that everybody, the mothers just said, okay, kids, go out, and I don't care. So I'd be playing by my with all the other kids on my side, on my block, and I'm talking about 6 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old. I mean, walk to the school by yourself. When you're 7 years old, you're a big boy then. And so that's the world that I grew up in as a child. So anyway, I enjoyed drawing. I got a kick when a relative from Bel Air, Ohio, where my dad grew up. He was born in Bel Air.
Bel Air.
Yeah, Bel Air, Ohio. Across from Wheeling, West Virginia. It was a mining town.
Okay.
And because my grandfather, his father, emigrated from Italy when he was about 14 years old, and the only relative he had was in the mining town of Bel Air. He came from Sicily as a 14-year-old and got there, and he became a barber. Had his own shop there. And, yeah, so he learned how to. He learned on the job. There was no there was no barber school. The barbers, and besides, barbers, miners, they just want to make sure they got the haircut, But you still had to know how to cut. Well, everybody shaved. I mean, in 1900, everybody had a straight edge to do your shaving with. There was no safety razors.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So anyway, good.
Max Works said, "Welcome, Max Works. Hello, everybody. Hope you're all doing good." Absolutely.
So anyway, this cousin visited us, and I was still in kindergarten. I was still about 5 years old. So, and he drew Mickey Mouse for me, and it was from that point on I said, I got to learn to do this. Well, my dad got a little jealous. I know he was a little jealous because he showed me how to draw a soldier. I'm going on and talking about, this guy, his cousin, showing Mickey Mouse, and he's going and show me a soldier, what have you. So from that point on, I started to be interested with a pencil, and I would be drawing in kindergarten, and watching Popeye, the old Fleischer Popeyes and what have you. So that laid down the groundwork for me and wanting to express myself that way. So
nice. Sweet.
Yep.
Everybody remember Bloodwing Angel Chronicles is funding. Be sure and back it today. If you already backed it, consider backing it again. Back it once, back it twice, back it 3 times a lady. And if you don't have the means to do so just yet, go ahead and share it all over social media. Share the link to the campaign, share the link to the stream, and let everyone in on it. So did you ever, so you got it, you developed an interest in comics and cartoons, and did you ever go to school specifically for animation and drawing?
No, I'm self-taught. I did have I learned by well, back then, we'll have to jump a bit because I went to schools for academics. You know, I went to a Jesuit military high school. I was born, raised Catholic, and had the nuns for grammar school. Went to this Jesuit school in Manhattan, and it was all academics, and basically, the whole idea was to become a electrical engineer and things of that sort. Whatever it was to stay out of the Vietnam War draft. That was one thing too that was going on back then that I had to deal with. Everybody was automatically, you had to sign up for the draft when you were 18. So I signed up for now, and so you only had deferments, if you were going to school. So I knew, I said, okay, I didn't want to do that, I learned, I wanted to, but I just didn't like what I experienced in college, because I wanted to draw. And even though I had a high academic aptitude in math, in sciences, and verbal reasoning, and all that kind of stuff, abstract reasoning as well, I was still finding it hard to settle on something that I wanted to do. I mean, I was paying tuition, but then again, back then, tuition was not what it was, what today is. I mean, I went to Fordham University, and I think it was about $72 a credit, and back then it was a 4-4 program. So it was you had to take 16 credits, and each credit was $75. So for less than $1,000 a semester, that was your tuition plus classes plus school. So I could have a summer job and pay for at least half the year on my own.
Okay.
So yeah, and so anyway, I was still experimenting and trying to go from one major to another, and I settled on communication arts, writing and things of that sort. So, but
is communication art something that prepares you to go into advertising?
Well, it's writing, it's creating, it's drawing. It's more in terms of conceptualizing things. Writing, film. It was a general bachelor's of science.
Okay.
Okay. So as a high schooler, the basics that I had was Latin, 4 years of Latin, 4 years of science, 4 years of math, science in terms of whether it be chemistry and physics. There was English as a regular thing, in history. So it was aimed at a well-rounded liberal arts high school. It was a college prep school.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay. So one of the things that learning about with Latin was the idea of understanding how to formulate your words and understand the roots. It's like coding, in many ways, because it depending upon what your word and in combination with other words, that's the meaning that you're giving, because each one of those words would have several meanings. It's just depending upon how it was used. So therefore, as a Latin person, the Latin student, you had to. I never got into Greek. I didn't do that. We had Greek majors also who did Latin, and they were just language people. So anyway, so learning that gives you an idea of how to you start learning how to put together concepts and get exact meanings out of it.
Oh, that's fascinating.
And one last thing that what was a real kicker was my freshman year Latin teacher, Mr. Delaney. What he wound up doing was he would read us dirty poems by Catullus and Cicero in Latin. So that was. But really, these were he didn't make them up. These are this was the stuff that your Roman centurions would be reading.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, there you go.
Max Fork says, "Oh man, Mr. Celestri did the Boba Fett in the holiday special.
Yeah.
Awesome, loved it. The animated bit is the best thing about that movie."
Yes. Well, it's not really. It was a show. It was a show. Now, all this Latin stuff and science and whatnot that really helped me understand how to do animation. It's the process of analyzing. Same way with story. Okay, learning how to tell a story. There are elements. You could start with several different elements, and how you mix them and blend them and tweak them and add something, from left field can make the difference between a good story and a great story, or make a good story terrible because you ruin it.
All right. That's a good perspective there.
Yeah.
Ryan says, yeah, John animated so many rad things from the 80s.
Yeah.
El Gargo, welcome. Thanks for the eggplant. Backer number 11.
Oh,
nice.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ryan Wynn says, ego artifacts. And let's see. LOL El Gargoyle. I get it. Yeah, so I wasn't sure how Latin would be a contributor, but that makes sense now.
Yeah, because you're learning how to put elements together to get your meaning. If you do not understand, what those variables are, then it's just the concept of analyzing. Understanding a dead language means what were they talking about? So you have to start comprehending what the mindset is, because there's so many different ways of doing that. I can't do Latin anymore. I mean, I haven't done it in decades. But you'd still be able to understand where the roots of your present day words come from, because Latin is throughout.
Yeah.
So.
Is it the base of every language in the world, or just certain ones?
Well, where they conquered, and you go from you're talking about going all the way through Constantinople, from that area through Turkey and what have you. You're going through into Africa, all through Europe, up through the down to Spain. Up to the British Isles, and you've got you're not talking about 20 years. You're talking about hundreds of years. You can go, starting in maybe what is it, about 320 BC before Christ to about 300 AD after Christ. That's 600 years.
Right.
So you're there doing stuff, and what would happen was that when the Romans would conquer an area, they would make everybody had the ability to become citizens of Rome. If you had service in the in the army, as a plebe or whatever it was, but they influenced everything because you had to learn Latin. to be able to communicate, you were learning Latin. So they would take Latin and then put it in with words, the languages that of the conquered area. So it's throughout a fair portion of this world, and so but Spanish, well, Spanish, Italian, obviously, French, English, all of those things. Britannia is Britannia. That's a Latin word. Britain is Britannia.
Yeah, that's true. Welcome, Edwin. The Ace is live on Indiegogo Acevedo. Hail, peeps.
Yeah.
Max Work says, good times when everybody lived many hundred years. The Hidden says, Ace. Did I hear you right that you more or less went down the educational path of like a general graphics writing kind of degree, bachelor's degree?
Yeah.
But then you opted not to finish it.
Yep. Yeah, I see. Yeah, I still haven't completed it. What happened was that because I allowed myself to be available in the draft when we had the lottery numbers. That was 1970. So I exposed myself to that, saying, okay, if they call my number, I'll go. If not, I won't. I'm clear, physically fit enough because of a spinal condition. I didn't know that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I had a spinal, it was a pilonidal cyst. I mean, it was pain, a sac at the base of my spine that had to be operated on to be removed, but it would flare up. And so, that would be something that would be totally unfit for service.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Is that one of those things that eventually, you resolved through surgery?
Yeah, I had to do that. It was one of those things I just had to. It wasn't until I was maybe about 25 years old that I had to have it removed, and so that was 6 weeks. But that was when I was starting to get into animation. I was, that was the time. If you're going to sit down, you better have everything resolved. And,
yeah. I was going to say, I mean, a heck of a career to choose if you've got a spinal condition.
Yep. Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I did have, when I found out, when I realized I finally settled on animation, I went for whatever books I could find. The School of Visual Arts in Manhattan had a summertime program, 6 weeks, one night a week in the summertime, and that was at 6 classes. And that was something I learned about exposure sheets, layouts, all these various things from an old Terry Toons and Fleischer Paramount animator, layout person. So I learned those technical things. Learned how to shoot the camera, cranking those things up, 1 frame at a time or 2 frames, whatever exposure sheet called for. Lowering it was about 10 feet high. Like the camera would come down, and to get to your platen, and so there was. So I learned all of that.
Nice.
Yes. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, all of that stuff I used that as my basis, and that got me into my first jobs because I was learning, and that's where I got to work at Tubby the Tuba, where a new School of Visual, New York Institute of Technology, out in Old Westbury, Long Island, which was a 4.5-hour round trip every day. I did 14 months, Yeah, that was and that's where I learned from Terry Toon and Popeye animators.
Wow.
So I did that every day. So I got my degree working for them.
Nice.
Yeah.
And hello. Welcome, Not My Monkeys, Not My Circus. Nice face furniture. Awesome stories. We'd love to hear lots more of them. Thanks for sharing. Yes, it's fascinating stuff. I mean, I grew up in the 80s, so more or less I was totally spoiled. I mean, I enjoyed things from, I listened to LPs and as they transition to audio CDs. And, in my opinion, at least, we had some great music, great comics, great toys, and all that good stuff. But there was a part of our lives where we still had an opportunity to play outside and ride bicycles and stay out till it got dark. And those were fun times for sure.
Mm-hmm.
What was it? Was it difficult? Getting these kinds of jobs. What did you mainly get gigs from word of mouth? People being pleased with your work and your work ethic.
Well, let's see. Eventually, my first job, as I said, it was on Tubby, and that was Tubby the Tuba, and that's where New York Tech is really where the Edmund Catmull was developing his theory about computer animation. They did that. They had he became head of what is it? Not DreamWorks. What's the thing up in that did Toy Story?
Pixar.
Yeah. He became head of Pixar, but guess what? Pixar, all of that stuff came out of Tubby the Tuba, the original. They were doing this traditionally animated film to find out what it was that had to be overcome by computers in order to do it. About in-betweens, coloring, all of that sort of stuff. Some of the first Photoshop paintings were done there. They were developing that. So I was there on one side of the campus working with pencil and paper, and they were on the other side studying, what we were doing, and then trying to get a circle to be completed and connected so that the paint didn't spill out onto the rest of the screen.
Right.
Because back then, once you lifted the pencil up, there was no connection to the line. No matter what, they didn't have the programming for that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Man. Yeah.
So that's like 1975, 76, 77. That's what that. But they would. I was there in 75 and a part of 76.
Yeah, I knew the name Catmull sounded familiar.
Yeah.
And even before they got christened Pixar, it used to be like a subdivision of Lucasfilm, I think.
Yeah, when Industrial Light and Magic, he hired them. Lucas hired them from after their period of time ended at, with New York Tech. So I think he took them on in 1978, 79. So they were just coming off of that, and so he was always doing his big thing was sound. Well, again, special effects.
Yeah.
That was and he had all the money in the world because he had all the rights to the toys, the Star Wars, because Warner Brothers or whoever it was that was his people, the producer. They couldn't care less about the residuals, the toys. So he owned everything.
Yeah, that was the most brilliant move he made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Whoa.
Yeah, I from the Popeye and Mighty Mouse animators went and I switched over to Raggedy Ann and Andy, which was being directed by Richard Williams, who eventually directed Roger Rabbit.
Oh yeah.
But so I switched over to work to go to that project, and started to develop more as an artist.
Very cool. And did you, before you retired, did you ultimately, you kept working these animation gigs?
Yeah.
Was animation more your thing than as opposed to going into comics or comic strips even?
Yeah, well, I there was sort of a balance. I mean, as I said, I didn't want to do. I wasn't thinking about comic or animation until I was about 23 years old. Prior to that, I wanted to do comic books as a kid, and then I wanted to create my own comic strip. So I was developing along those lines, and then, I realized, I would be doing strips, doing stuff for local newspapers. I was doing sports cartoons for the Fordham student newspaper, and the same thing doing for the sports department, the athletic department, for their program and their guides or what have you. So I would do that, but I wanted to be more of a newspaper cartoonist because that's where the money was.
Oh, okay.
And, that was what it was back then. And then Peanuts was really making it big, and there was a lot of stuff. So I was trying to learn to do gag cartoons, and I'm just not a good gag person, in that way. It was all words, flippant stuff, and then I didn't have that gig. And then when I was working for the New York Athletic Club, working on their staff for the magazine, for the House magazine, I was sent down to do a bunch of drawings for the Olympic fencing team that was practicing in the gym. So I took my pad and pencil, and I'm drawing 30-second sketches of that. Now remember, I'm self-taught, so I'm just going as fast as I can and get down the motion and the posing and whatnot. And when I came back upstairs with about a bunch of sheets of paper with these drawings on it, my editor says, "These are great. You captured the movement." So by that accident, I knew how to be an animator. I knew that I had the ability to do that, and that's how I started, looking into that as something that I'd want to get into.
Wow.
So, yeah. So that's how it was. And then being a comic book artist, that didn't come back into it. I mean, I still wanted to do comic strips and whatnot during the 80s, the late 80s. I still wanted to do that. But newspapers were getting smaller and smaller in terms of the size of the postage stamps and what have you. And
man, yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So, so I focused on animation, and being as good as I could be, and but then 2001 came, and suddenly computers took over everything. So I was about 51 years old, and I was just kicked to the curb, and that was that. They didn't want my abilities.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That must have been like a wake-up call or a slap in the face.
It was more a hit in the gut.
Oh.
Because they wouldn't even, they would look at you and say, you're an old guy at 50, and you can't be retrained. What do you mean you can't be retrained? But they didn't want draw artists because everything was Toy Story. So I had to start looking ways of doing stuff. So I started developing my own projects and tried to get, trying to figure out a way to get things done. And, so I'd get some odd jobs. I'd work on stuff. And that's what kept me going for a bunch of years until I reached retirement age.
Wow.
And then that kicked in. So then I said, okay, I'm going to go back to doing my comic books. So now I'm going full circle. I don't have to think about the job because I'm here in Kentucky where it's dirt cheap to live, but in a nice environment, and so that this is where we are, and we're in our house. We've got our yards. We've got access to all kinds of sophisticated thought processes and old school stuff, new school stuff, so it's all cool.
Nice. Max Work says 20th Century Fox did it, and now they are included with Disney. Same as Pixar.
Yeah.
Not My Monkeys, Not My Circus says this chap is a legend indeed.
Thank you.
Frog G says Bloodwing Angel Chronicles on Indiegogo. Thanks for dropping the link, mods.
Thank you.
El Gargoyle asks, did you ever work on The Thief and the Cobbler?
No, but I was part of a group of assistants that did some crowd work for a battle or something that Richard Williams had us were doing recordings, and so we all were shouting and grumbling and doing all kinds of stuff, and in a studio, and that was, so that's the closest. And I would not recognize myself. I wouldn't be able to hear myself, but we were all young artists, and that's what we were doing. We were just giving them some background noises.
Oh, so you were a voice actor too?
Yes. There you go.
On your IMDb.
Yeah.
Stupid idiots kicking you out, sir.
Yeah. Well, that's where it is.
I take experienced animators over fresh people any day. Keep them around to teach the new kids the old ways, and they're not forgotten.
Well, they didn't want any of the new stuff. I mean, the old stuff. Once again, it was just a clean slate. They didn't want anything else. They said, okay, we'll just do Pixar stuff. So everybody was copying Pixar, but everybody's drawing the same damn style, and they still don't understand how to move a body without having motion capture.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, that's why they relied so heavily on motion capture.
Yep.
They don't possess the skills of observation of what live beings, how they slink around and move and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Welcome, Adanui. Set a reminder, and I still managed to be late by more than an hour. This is why they are idiots. Yeah, I mean, I'm in the same boat as him. It's like art, just with any art, any music, any skill, like woodworking,
mm-hmm.
Those are things that you actually want to pass down to, the newer generations.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, in every culture, there are, like storytellers
mm-hmm.
who convey the history through
mm-hmm.
stories and parables.
Mm-hmm.
And, not only are you teaching them lessons, but you're also sharing, some history
mm-hmm.
with the newer generations. And we're losing so much of it at a quick pace. It's kind of sad.
Well, you can read all you want and you watch videos as much as you want, but unless you're actually doing it under the pressure of having to perform and have an audience react to what you're doing, that's where the daily grind of doing something that has to entertain a non You know, you can have your parents and your friends say, "Hey, that's a great job," but if somebody who's paying for you says it's a good job, then that's good.
Yes.
You know, if somebody's paying for your item that you've created, that's really what's important.
True. That's the way to look at it.
Yeah.
I mean, no matter what method you find, you've got to find some way to give yourself incentive. You got to give yourself the drive and the passion to work to complete your project.
Right.
Yeah, we touched on this earlier too. And you yourself, more or less, developed a certain work ethic. You decided, all right, here's my end goal. Here's what I'm planning to accomplish. And here is how much I can reasonably get done per day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And after a while, you know what you can do almost down to the drawing, you know? And if you get interrupted, then I get kind of ticked off, because then I say, okay, I didn't get done what I wanted to do, but I had to handle something else. So, you know, and no matter how much you try to work in, you know, a cushion for time for that, it still is a thing of, I had to use that cushion. I could have used it for something else, but I had to go and do something else that got me out of the flow. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Don't forget, John Celestri's Bloodwing Angel Chronicles is funding now. If you backed it, thank you very much for the support. Be sure and consider backing it again. Back it once, back it twice, back it 3 times a lady. And if you don't have the means right now to back it, please consider sharing it all over social media. Let's get some more eyeballs on it. Feel free to share his campaign. Feel free to share my stream, all that good stuff. How long has Bloodwing Angel Chronicles been like floating around in your mind? How long did it take to develop the idea, the story? What made you pursue this project next?
Well, what I did was it was at a very low point in my psyche. It was really bad. I was really having a tough time, and so I was thinking of myself as, you know, some people may know the Old Testament book of Job, you know, where Job is a faithful servant, and he is and God is playing games with the devil with him, and saying, hey, you know, this guy, you know, just to prove that he'll never go against me. So you know, do whatever you want with him, but don't kill him. But you do whatever you want with him. Just curse him. Just take away everything he's got. We'll see how well he reacts to that. So that's basically what the story is. And so what I said, you know, I decided that all the stuff that I had done to try and work and do play by the rules and whatnot had gotten me into, I was in a really bad shape. So this is back in 2013. So I decided I'm going to write a novella. And I decided to write a novella. You know, it was maybe about 15,000 words, 20,000 words. And it was about an innocent angel. You know, it was plucked out of the choir, so to speak, and been tossed out, you know, out of heavens and thrown through the universe and lands on a planet, and that's where Earth is, and it's basically because it's turned into a semi-mortal, and it's a confusion of Michael is confused about what's going on. I didn't do anything wrong. I rejected all the darkness side. I obeyed all the rules. But why is this deity just, you know, playing games with me? And the very act of being tossed out of safety, a promise is broken by the Creator to his angels that if you obey my rules, you will never be in danger. I will always be protecting you. So He rips the sheer act. If you roll up the screen a little bit, or you can go up to mine here, you can see, yeah, keep on going up there. And I do a little this cartooniness stuff here. Keep on going. Keep going up there. These are characters. Keep going up, up, up. Keep rolling. There. That's here. This is my, and this one that's coming up here. The fabric is snapped of the universe because it's gone past everything, every speed imaginable. The fabric of the universe is torn apart momentarily, and then immediately stitched back together, but not in the way it was before. So now suddenly reality is different. What are the rules? What is truth? What is evil? What is good? What is evil? What is truth? What is lying? What is fiction? What's, all of these things have been changed by ending breaking this promise. And so Michael lands on this planet, is turned into a semi-human, semi-mortal, and is both, because angels are neither male or female, then by definition, they are both male and female in human form. And so therefore, Michael is now both male and female. But does not have all the angelic powers. Still has wings that come out of the body at a certain point, has a flaming sword, but instead of a flaming sword for an arm, it can only manage a flaming finger. And so there's all of these elements of Michael where this character is now going to become the guardian angel of this neighborhood, and meets all these various people. For example, there's the religious gift shop, which is based on my parents' religious gift shop in Brooklyn. And we've sold priest vestments, medallions, chalices, ciboriums, all kinds of statuary, things that would be donated by the gangsters that actually lived, that were in the club across the street from us. The mobsters, they'd come in and then they'd go and say, okay, let's get this chalice for old, Shoeless Joe. He was a good guy. We're going to his funeral. Yeah, in his name, we're going to send it to over at Sin Fin Bar. We'll get the chalice engraved, and we'll set it up for him. So anyway, this religious gift shop has got all worship tools for all religions, whether it be Protestant, Catholic, but they also include sacrificial daggers, because human sacrifice is a legitimate thing amongst society now. And you have all of these various things. They sell fertility totems, dealings with wands, magic wands, but you can only use a magic wand if you actually believe in it. So there's all of that goes on there. So this is the world that Michael lands in. And so I said, okay, here's Michael, a fish out of water, having to understand what's going on with this world, and so I did. So what I did. So in that sense, what I did was I did a novella. And then, I published it on Amazon on my own as an ebook. Then I decided, well, let me try it as an animated, or as a TV series or whatnot. So I started developing it as a show. So I started to develop the characters and add more elements into it. And then, so the characters started to grow in my mind. I set that aside for a little while and worked on Snuffy and Zoe and Mega Moose, my other comics that I did that I have as crowdfunding, and then realized even though they were able, I got a fair amount of at least I funded those projects on both Kickstarter and Indiegogo. That's not where people's minds are. You can't get 10-year-olds don't have credit cards to go to Indiegogo or Kickstarter. So I said, okay, well, let me pull out Bloodwing, and I started working on that as a comic book, as a series. So that's what brings us to Bloodwing Angel Chronicles.
Welcome, Statistical Zero. Hello, all. Statistical Zero is a cool artist.
Hi, you guys. So this here is a layout in how I'll that's my penciling for the like say same size of a printed page. Okay, so I would draw that up and lay that out, and then I would scan it and put it into Clip Studio Paint and put in the dialogue so I can see whether or not what my balloons are like, and so I can change those. I prefer keeping the balloons as drawing, not putting in that afterwards. You can see how I play around with this here, so that you can see where the characters are talking and talking like this, but then it becomes a voiceover and it's connected to that.
Yeah, one of the speech bubbles becomes.
Yeah, it's to the cigarette there.
That's pretty clever.
Yep. So I try to do. In my layouts, that's what I'm trying to do all the time. Not keep them in boxes. I mean, it's pretty much what how Will Eisner was developing his style. Same thing with Jack Cole or Walt Kelly.
Nice. Are your pencils usually? So when you do your pencils, are you doing some red, some blue, or? Yeah,
that's like animation. Really? You know, basically, I start. You know, some. It depends on what we're doing. Like for example, the one where Elmer and he's leading out the window above this page that you were looking at. That one there. That was basically red and black. But I was just seeing how it would work, you know, when I shot it as a gray tone. That's what you have. What I do is I'll lay down one sheet of paper, and then I'll start drawing with red, and then I'll start blocking things out a bit, and then put it with maybe blue pencil, depending upon how many different how confusing will this be for me. I'm trying to get all these various layers, because sometimes I will break down drawings or panels into layers, you know, to be done so that I can put the colors, you know, the superimposing certain layers on top of others that, like for example, the colors I might be doing in some layers would be a percentage. For example, if I want to show, a faded, character, I need to have it on a separate level so that level can be changed percentage-wise and not being 100%, but yet still be combined with the other levels that are at 100%.
And that by making these different determinations, it's helping make clear like what the background is, what the foreground is, and
it really depends. For example, here I've got the drawings that you're seeing here with Snake Eyes, and these other two characters in the foreground. It was a lot easier to see them and work with them instead of having the background guys. It would be too much. I can't. It just for me personally, it allows me to focus better.
Oh, okay.
And besides, I've got a whole bunch of these pencils, so I'm going to use them.
Oh yeah, for sure. Use them for what they're meant for. Wouldn't work stylistically with the balloons made digital. This looks more old school. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm doing. I mean, to me, okay, for me, doing doing it digitally with balloons gives it's too mechanical and cold for me. I don't give you the same thickness in the balloons from one one drawing to the next. The only digital things that you're getting are the typing of the text of the dialogue and the coloring. You know, everything else, I want to make it feel like it's an old school underground comic from the 60s and 70s.
Nice.
But that's my style.
With regards to the lettering, did you design your own font, or is it one that already?
No, I have a bunch of them that they were free from Blambot, you know, and you know, he said that, you know, if you're an indie comic, you know, person, you know, then you can use these, and so I've got different fonts for different characters.
Nice.
Depending upon how, you know, what kind of thing, you know, what kind of a feeling I want to get. With Michael has Dragon's Bone, you know, has a particular, you know, old kind of a wizardry feel to the dialogue.
Right.
For like you'll see Elmer, the boy saying the boys across the street. That's kind of an ash can. It is a different. It's a grungier feeling to it, to the dialogue. Whereas with his son, is a bit more traditional and straightforward. But you get a different feeling of voice.
Yeah,
it's subtle, but it's there.
Max Work says the pencil works are awesome. The first two are so animated, like having several transparent papers over each other. So cool.
Yeah, and that's how I think. Thanks, Max Work.
Gave Mr. Celestri a follow on Twitter. He has a great YouTube channel too.
Yeah. Yes. Just go. Max Work. Go for. All you have to do is just type in John Celestri, you know, on YouTube, and right. I've got all of these, or John the Animator guy. I've got dozens of videos on the principles of animation. I'll explain the squash and stretch, character stuff, drawing. You know, it's all old school material.
Nice. Let's check out the trailer promo.
Okay.
Can you see it?
Yep.
All right.
Bloodwing Angel Chronicles. The adventures of Michael.
You
was unjustly.
It all got kind of messed up there.
All right, hold on.
Battles survive amongst demons, sinners.
Roll it back.
Did the whole screen go black?
Yeah, it went all back, and then it was jumping around.
Oh, was it? All right. Hopefully it buffered some. Let's try this again.
Bloodwing Angel.
No, it's wrong. Hey, you know. Get me. You know, let me get mine. Let's see what happens.
We're on yours now.
Okay. Let's go up to here and.
Bloodwing Angel Chronicles. The adventures of Michael, an innocent angel who is unjustly banished to the mortal realm and battles to survive amongst demons, sinners.
Do you have YouTube open? Do you happen to have this stream open in YouTube as well?
I'm sorry?
Do you happen to have this very stream open in YouTube at the same time? Because it seemed like there was some echo.
Well, the only thing I've got is just my
Just the StreamYard window and
yeah.
the screen you're sharing?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Well, anyway, you got to see what it was. What it was. It's not a very long video, but I'm thinking, you know, that sells the whole concept. You know, it's the elevator pitch, and 30 seconds is all everybody has got time for, really. You know, if you don't get it in the first 30 seconds, it's a commercial. You know.
And yeah. Johnny's Mind Comics.
Yeah.
Bloodwing Angel. Do you have your a part of your brand that's like you know, general audience or rated mature M or NC-17, and then another side of your, or another sub brand or whatever,
yeah,
geared toward like the spicier stuff?
Spicier than Bloodwing? No.
Okay. Well,
No.
I mean, with Bloodwing being the spicier.
Yes. Yeah. I have Snuffy and Zoe and their Toy Box Adventures. That's for 4 to 7-year-olds.
Oh wow.
You know, and then with I did a campaign from you know, last year for on Indiegogo and Kickstarter, and then I also with Mega Moose, which is kind of like a Captain Marvel character, as a nerd gets when he gets magic, has a magic feather. And when he tickles his nose and he sneezes and he turns into this giant Minotaur type character with all the powers of the animal kingdom.
Oh, okay.
Like, you know, so it's and he's you know, there is that. So that's for 8 to 12-year-olds.
Okay.
And so that's the range for the beginning. You know, the younger kids. That's the John the Animator comics. Johnny's Mind comics is me with the eyeglasses, sunglasses, as you see, and that's for Bloodwing.
All right. And let's see here. Statistical says that's some great cartooning.
Thank you.
Thanks for dropping the links, mods. And Frog G shares your YouTube channel. Sweet. Max says, okay, thank you. Most of the old animation stuff I already know, but we'll gladly check them out to see what experiences you may have to add to that.
Well, you could, in Max work, you know what? You check on that, okay? I have a video. It's a 3-minute video that shows my old Boba Fett sketches that I saved from the trash back in 1978.
Saved from the trash. Oh my gosh.
Yes, and that's episode 4.1. You know, the Star Wars episode 4.1, saved from the trash. And so you know, I give the crawl, and then I use the Star Wars music, the march, but then I blend that into the music from Franz Liszt that was used in Flash Gordon Conquers the Universe, which is the movie that crawl comes from originally. That Lucas used. So I use the Franz Liszt music at the end, you know, and then get into the drawings of Boba Fett.
Oh, all right.
So just for a visit for there, you would understand. You would be. You might be interested in that.
Nice. Max says, thanks, Frog, you the best link slayer there is. Bloodwing, Angel Chronicles on Indiegogo. Oh my God, the real stuff. Awesome.
Thank you. Thanks.
The Hidden says, that movie was so cheesy.
It's everybody. I mean, listen. All I could say is when we were doing, when I was at Nelvana, and we were doing that after we had done the Devil and Daniel Mouse, their show. Nelvana was up in Toronto, and we were all very young. This is 1978. I'm still 28 years old. And like, you know, I'd been an animator. I'd been in the business for about 3 years when I did Boba Fett. And so we were all, I was the oldest one there at the studio. So we're all, you know, we're testing our oats. And back then, actually, you know, limited animation. I mean, the Star Wars, the cartoon is about as full as you could get for TV back then, because you didn't have the budget, the money for that.
So they were topping out in terms of the budget Lucas could afford for his movie, his holiday special?
Well, I don't know what the budgetary aspect was in terms of what they did. I mean, they wanted it, you know, within a certain amount of time, and we cranked it out, and that was it, because we didn't get the scripts. We worked on it. We started animating on it. I kind of remember it as being kind of a March, April time. Yeah, we were just coming out of Devil and Daniel Mouse. So it was more like May and June, and we're working, you know, we're going like crazy. We did the 10 minutes or the 9 minutes, whatever it was, of animation in about, I'm talking about the rough animation and then clean up and whatnot. That's all about like a 6 to 7 week schedule. And that's fast for what we were doing, because there was a lot of stuff that we'd never done before. We were doing it without pencil tests.
Oh, man.
You know, we were doing it without pencil tests. So we were just flipping, you know, that's what we were doing. We didn't have, you know, the lion lamb stuff. We didn't have computers to do that. This is 1978. Everything was flipping. We would have to send it we would get it shot. You know, they were, in fact, as a regular process, you'd do a rough test and, you know, do it as fast, as well as you can. Then you'd send it off and get it pencil tested. You wouldn't see it for another week and a half, you know? So you're trying to remember what you did if you had a problem with it, and you'd see it on a small moviola, you know? So, and I never saw any of this stuff. You know, the first time I actually saw the Boba Fett in actual, you know, color and actually was when it was on TV.
Oh my gosh!
So I'm sorry, you can't, you cannot make the same statements about. It's kind of saying, why couldn't you get up to the stratosphere on that old biplane that the the Wright brothers came on? You know, it's just there were just too many different things going on back then. So,
how many people were on the animation team, by the way?
There were about 6 of us.
Oh wow!
7 of us in terms of doing the. We had 6 or 7 of us animators, and then there were about 3 or 4 assistant animators.
Ah, all right.
And then you had your painters and whatnot. There was a staff of maybe about 25 people altogether, with checkers and inkers and you know, Xerox people and camera.
Wow. Did somebody from the animators do the voice for it?
No.
Or was it pre-recorded?
Oh yeah, that was all. All those voices are the original cast members. You know.
Really?
Oh yes.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Cool. I had the own voices, just the text. Oh wow! On the Happy on the TV, you saw it first. Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. The first time you saw the finished product was right on TV with the rest of the audience. Yeah,
and quite honestly, you know, as I remember, you know, seeing it, I was saying, okay, because I had no idea of what it was. They didn't tell us anything. Remember, back then, you know, Lucas was very secretive about what he was doing. And so we had no idea that it was going to be Jefferson Starfish or Starship. Yeah, so we were doing, so we didn't know about all of that stuff. And so as soon as it started like that, I said, oh my Lord, I was praying that people wouldn't be clicking off before the halfway point where the cartoon was going to go in. And I was praying, oh, please. So I was just, anyway, that was that.
Jeremy?
No, he did not. No, he did not do that voice. That was Don Franks. That was one of the great voice actors, and the Canadian voice actors for animation and just in the industry at the time. He did. Don Franks said Jerry Bob had nothing to do with until Empire. Until the whatever it was there. And if you look at it, I looked at Empire and Return of the Jedi, and I realized you count the minutes, and I have more screen time on Boba Fett with the cartoon than Jerry Bulloch has, on screen time there. And actually, all the stuff that you see, all that acting is after I did the cartoon a few years before. All of that stuff is just standing in front of a mirror and figuring out, okay, I'm going to have him handle stuff. I'm going to tilt his head up and down because there's no lip sync. So how do you make an attitude? Throw the gun around. His laser rifle over. I call him the tuning fish, the tuning fork rifle.
You got fish on the brain.
Yeah. Well, hey, listen. So anyway, so that smacking the beast on the rump. That was my idea. The settling down and whatnot. He just had him go. Lucas on the script said, smack him on the nose with his fist. Well, at that point, we didn't have him up on the saddle, and at the time, you would never be able to get him that high up to be able to smack him on the nose because the thing is 5 stories high. So how is he going to get up there? So all of this stuff had to be done after the script, and sometimes script writers don't know shit about what animation is and what you have to do until you actually do it. So things are adjusted.
True. Jefferson Starfish, is he moving up to the West Reef? Ryan Wynn says, this has been a great interview. Yeah, that's what I thought. As I remember, the voice is different. Oh, cool. He came up with his motions. Yeah. That's a trip. Yeah. It felt like a different voice, too, when I think back to both of them.
Yeah.
So it makes sense they were 2 different people.
Yeah, they're totally different. The gentleman, the Don Franks, was a great thing. He did the Devil in the Devil and Daniel Mouse. He did a Boba Fett. He did Mock in Rock and Rule.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
And so on to the perks. We got an Angel perk, which is a digital copy of the.
That's $5.
Angel Chronicles #1.
Yeah. That hardcover is then the hard copy is $10 plus shipping. And then the other this one here is signed. A copy of the book is signed and with a mini poster, and that's $15 plus shipping. And then there's this here. The that's a soft enamel pin.
Soft enamel. Oh.
Yeah, soft enamel pin, and it's texturized. You rub your finger across, and instead of it just being smooth, so all of those ridges are there. Everything is painted. And and so that and in the Demon Slayer perk, that you've got that the pin, which is about 1 3/4 inches high by 1.5 inches across. That's how big it is. Then you've got a baseball card, the mini poster, and a signed copy. That's $25 plus shipping. And then for the Fire Fist perk, all of that plus the drawing, which is an 8.5, on 8.5 by 11 animation paper, which is a rough sketch of Michael.
So when animators work, they usually work on 8.5 by 11.
No, I did that because to do a larger piece of paper, I mean I was trying to get it into mailers, cardboard mailers that would fit in.
All right, gotcha.
You can't. I wouldn't be able to do it with a 10.5 by 12.5 size paper. It's too big, and then things start rumbling around and sliding around too much.
Gotcha. Yeah, you'd have to up the size of the box.
And all of that. Yes. So the drawing is backed, with a back and with and it's in an envelope, a regular a comic book
like a bag and board.
Bag and board, yeah.
Okay.
Same way with the book, it's bagged and boarded. The mini poster and the card are in the bag with the board, so it's all in one nice piece together.
All right.
And the pin is comes in a bag.
So that it doesn't push against the book and stuff, making dent.
Yeah.
On the back of the trading card, does it have like a little bio, or does it?
Yeah, it's just the basic. It's the basic element. It's number 1, and it just says who is Michael. In terms of that, it gives you just who Michael is and what the whole concept of the series is, and that's Michael. As I go on, it depends, and I start having maybe a second card, and the next one I'll have a little more about what the powers are, what Michael can do. And it's just one of those things. I wanted to do something extra, just as to validate people having something extra other than just the book.
Yes. So you're planning on introducing one or more additional trading cards through the life of this campaign?
Not through this, not this campaign, but in the next one. Because I've already gone, I've done. We've got this book is 52 pages. It's 48 with 4 covers. Then I've completed episode 3. This is episode 1 and 2 in this book. Of episode 3, I'm working on episode 4, and I've finished off the short story, which is a backup to those 2 episodes 3 and 4 in the next book of the 1717 Club members. So I'm doing a short, complete story with that, so that you could see what kind of characters and why people don't want to deal with them. So you have and so I'm starting introducing more characters into this mix. And so there'll be another 48 pages plus covers, in the next one. So I'm almost, I'm 3/4 of the way through the next book that I'll be probably starting in October, September or October.
Wow. And as you mentioned, touched on that you've been creating comics and animation for over 45 years. animated the iconic Boba Fett in the Star Wars Holiday Special, Batman, and many other cartoon shows of the 70s and 80s. So were you involved in Batman when he did like those cameos on Scooby-Doo?
No. That's Hanna-Barbera. No, I'm not. That's no. That's that. I'm not doing that. I did Batman. There are 4 Zellers commercials that you look on the internet. You look on YouTube, and you'll see Batman Zellers commercials. I did them in 1987, 88, and they've got Batman. There's Batman and Robin, and the villains are the Joker, Catwoman, Riddler, and Penguin.
Oh, okay, sweet.
Yeah.
And then
that was pre Michael Keaton live action.
Oh yeah, it would be.
Yeah,
definitely. And these also include Filmation Studios' He-Man, She-Ra, and Don Bluth's Dragon's Lair and Space Ace video games.
Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, those are my favorites. Yeah. Who will like these series? Bloodwing Angel Chronicles is a full-color, mature action-adventure comic set in an alternative universe. The series will appeal to you if you like the following: Heavy Metal Magazine, speculative fiction, supernatural heroes, mature stories, fantasy or horror, dystopian fiction, and classic 2D animation. You can definitely see the animation influence here.
Yep.
Pretty sweet.
Yeah.
And let's see here. Yeah, that's what we were saying earlier. Yeah. Yeah, you worked on the Star Wars Holiday Special, the Boba Fett animated cartoon in there. Yeah, pull those up. He was the Boba Fett animator for it.
Yeah, I was the only one who did it. There was nobody else did him. So, well, I'm going to have to wrap up.
Yep. Yeah, we'll bring it to a close. So we got a little further here. You're at 591 for 10.
Oh, cool. Great.
We got 14 days left of funding. Are you doing one of those things where you do 2 30-day rounds of funding and then you go in demand, or how are you working your campaign?
I'm just going to go straight into in demand.
All right.
Because, I mean, if I go to 30 days, I mean, my funding was to make sure that I had $500. And so, therefore, it's there. It's good. I would love to keep it going, no matter what, like just keep on going through, and then I could go in demand, and then I could carry on with the next, with the program, with the next one afterwards. That'll be a separate, campaign. I can't, it's just, and then, I will get everybody in to be able to get, some people who haven't gotten the first one, and they could get it in the second one,
Do you anticipate this being an ongoing series, or do you have a certain number of volumes in mind?
Well, let's put it this way. I'm 72 years old, so there's a limited number of volumes left in me.
So you'll be animating till you're 120, basically.
Yeah, whatever. Well, you know what the story is that basically this world is so different, and there is so many different things that are no holds barred, and I don't have to worry about, I'm not looking at censorship other than having good taste. My good taste is this, and as you will read it and discover what I'm doing, then that's my censorship. It's self-censorship in terms of saying this character wouldn't do that.
Right.
That's all the censorship I'm going to do, is to make sure that the character is true to the story, and characters do what they have to do.
For sure. Space Ace was awesome. Really working several stuff I saw and liked a lot. Okay. Oh, really worked on several things I saw and liked. I think that's how it was meant. I wanted to give you the floor, John, for you to share with the world how you can be found on social media.
Well, you can get me at John Celestri at Celestri John on Twitter. I'm on Facebook as John Celestri and on YouTube as John Celestri. That's my brand. That's who I am. That's, I'm not going to change it anymore. It's John the Animator guy also, but that's how you could reach me. And any comments, constructive criticisms, or you want to ask questions, that'd be fine. You can get me on those various social medias, and that's about it, really.
Sweet. Thanks, everyone. You know where you can find me. You can find me in every description of every stream I do. You should see. Yes, worked on. Sorry, I did not see. I typed it wrong. Super tired. Still drawing in my comic.
Yeah.
No, cool deal. My social media contacts are down in the description of every stream I do. Please like, comment, subscribe, mark the bell for notifications, drop some comments down below. Let us know what you're most excited about on Bloodwing Angel Chronicles. I want to thank everyone in chat. You guys are awesome. Thanks to everyone who watches this on replay. And thanks especially to our very special guest, the one, the only, the legend, John Celestri. Thanks, everyone, and you have a great night. See you on the next stream.
Bye.
Bye.
Final guest is the only person below White Holiday in the ComicsGate phone book. It's my favorite failed clone of Peter Sammetti. The YouTube How you doing? Welcome to the show.